Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Set Lusting Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. We are getting off the Bruce train, though I'm sure he will come up as he often does. But today we are turning the podcast up to 11. My almost neighbor, Mark, is joining me to talk about Spinal Tap. And I am so excited about this because it's relative. It's not relative, it's relevant because, and we'll get into that details. But in the meantime, Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Hey Jesse, it's great to be here. I hope we both take it to 11 today. Yes.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Mark Graban. Grew up outside of Detroit, have spent a lot of the last 20 years in various cities in Texas. I'm an engineer by background, an engineer with an MBA, but I am a writer. I've written 4 books about basically leadership and continuous improvement. I've been working independently for about 15 years after spending time in the corporate ranks in manufacturing and then some consulting for Johnson and Johnson in hospitals and healthcare. But I've been podcasting for 19 years now. I've been doing a second podcast for the last 5 that's been a real passion project, especially called My Favorite Mistake, which is actually naming that podcast after a Sheryl Crow song was a mistake in terms of SEO and searchability. But learned from that. I wrote a book based on a lot of the stories from the My Favorite Mistake podcast and gave it a more unique name. That book is called The Mistakes That Make Us. Yeah, I do a lot of different things: author, speaker, consultant, work with a software company out of Austin called KaiNexus. And I'm also a huge dork about the movie Spinal Tap. And thankfully, a couple old friends that is a shared passion. So maybe, that's part of what we'll explore. Marching band geek. I'll throw out one other thing. So not just a dork about Spinal Tap, but recovering marching band geek, playing drums in the high school and college marching bands for 8 years. A little bit about me.
Very cool. There's a lot to explore there, but I always like to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So you mentioned growing up in the Detroit area. Was your family a music family? What kind of music was your family listening to?
It's funny. Neither of my parents were that musical. I think my mom took piano lessons. My dad played like the baritone horn, maybe through middle school. I developed a little bit deeper passion for music and drums and percussion. My parents were very tolerant of that, thankfully. You got to have pretty cool parents to let you make noise with drums and percussion instruments in a house. But I think of musical when I think of my family and music, I think of road trips. We did a lot of driving road trips around the country. And I think of some of the cassette tapes that were in heavy rotation on those trips in no particular order: Neil Diamond, Blondie, the Moody Blues, like Pink Floyd, Bob Seger as a classic Detroit connection act. That and Yeah, those were on heavy rotation on the road trips. Those are the first ones that come to mind. A lot of influence from 70s and 80s rock and pop when I was growing up. And for context, I'm 51, so very much a child of the 80s. And Bruce, of course, a big part of that. One of the relatively first albums that I ever owned was Born in the USA.
Yeah, I love that diversity of that road trip. When you go, you don't usually hear Neil Diamond and Pink Floyd in the connection,
Yeah.
which I love. That tells a lot about the diversity and in the fandom of you growing up.
Yeah. And Blondie to me is the
Yeah,
outlier. Blondie is amazing. And
yeah.
Debbie Harry is still performing, and you go back. That was really innovative, new wave,
Mm.
punk, rap, rock. But my parents were relatively young. They were like 22 and 21 when they had me. So they were relatively young parents.
Siblings?
One sibling, 2 years younger.
Okay.
And yeah, we both played music growing up. So I think there was definitely a lot of encouragement to participate. So I did everything from, I mentioned marching band, concert band, jazz band, pit orchestras for school, the annual school musical, Saturday regional youth symphony.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of time investment driving me around to drum lessons and all sorts of musical activities. So I appreciate that they were supportive of that.
Mark, why the drums?
I don't know. I think you're born a drummer.
Okay, you just
I There was no doubt in my mind when given that decision point in fifth grade, what instrument do you want to play? And fifth grade band, like you had a snare drum and a bass drum and
yeah.
cymbals. You're starting off a relatively limited range of instruments. But I love that playing percussion involves so many different instruments. The basics of playing the snare drum is probably what everything else is based upon. I loved timpani. And so
Yeah.
playing in that youth orchestra and playing timpani was probably my favorite subset of the percussion instruments.
I'm going to let you geek out a minute because I don't understand what you just said.
Okay, sure.
Is you said the snare drum, the way you perform or
Yeah.
on a snare drum. Explain that to me a little bit.
Snare drum is almost always the starting point because that's the basics of practicing rhythm and I have a couple of drumsticks here.
Okay.
I'm not going to play anything, but of what you would learn in terms of what they call sticking, in
Okay.
terms of grip the drumsticks and starting on a snare drum would then expand to a drum
Okay.
set
Got
and
it.
now playing rhythms across different drums and different cymbals, timpani or AKA the kettle drums. You
Yeah.
know, if you go to a symphony or you might typically, let's say four of them
Yeah.
laid around and you can tune them to different notes the way you might tune the tom toms on a drum set. But the thing about timpani is that there's a pedal where you can quickly adjust the
Oh, okay.
tuning. And so at different points in an orchestral piece, you might have to change like that the high pitched timpani from an F to a G
Okay.
based on different points in the music. And so yeah, you start with the basics and expand out from there.
M- Probably 20 years ago, give or take a decade, we went to see one of my favorite musicians and a dear friend is a lady named Sarah Hickman, and she was performing her, and I think she had one backup singer, and Sarah had her guitar,
Mhm.
just an acoustic guitar, and a young guy had a snare drum, and that was it.
Yeah,
And with sticks and brushes,
brushes. Yep.
he was able to make, I was just amazed at
Hmm.
how many different sounds and
Hmm.
things that just one instrument could do
Yeah,
to accompany a wide range of different styles and things of songs.
yeah, and a snare drum can power a rock tune, help drive the beat. I'm like in my head, I'm hearing "Dancing in the Dark" as a very solid
Yes.
bam, slamming the snare drum. And then it's often used in jazz or small acoustic, folk or acoustic music. Yeah. The brushes create different layers of it's rhythmic but without being that loud or
Yeah.
overpowering. Spinal Tap is called one of let me talk better today. One of England's loudest bands.
Yeah.
But there would be no role for one of Spinal Tap's ill-fated drummers to use the brushes.
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna get to Spinal Tap in a minute.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
am
Sorry to be
I'm
dragging
no
it
no
there.
no, I'm glad you are. I did warn you before I hit recorded. I love tangents. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll do
it's
that.
yeah, Mark is so any thoughts on Max Weinberg, the E
Oh,
Street Band drummer?
yeah. And played so long on
Conan.
Conan,
Yeah.
the Max Weinberg 7. It's rare for a
Yeah.
drummer to lead a band. It's not
Yeah.
completely unheard of, but it's rare to
Yeah.
quote unquote front the band and be the name.
Yeah.
I think he's an amazing drummer. And to think of what he brought to the E Street Band, like I think of Max, the look and the sound of a big band
Yeah.
drummer in jazz. And if I'm
Yeah.
remembering right, so when we talk about the drumsticks and drum sticking,
Yeah.
Rock drummers usually play what's called match grip. You're holding both sticks the same. I'm
Okay.
quite certain Max plays, at least a lot of the time, a style that's called just a traditional grip,
Yeah.
where the left hand that you're generally hitting the snare drum with is held differently.
Yeah.
And so I think, do I have that right? Like, I think that's
I
a
think
distinctive
I
Max
think you do
Weinberg
too.
thing.
Now that I'll have to watch. I know he's the favorite member of the E Street Band to my lovely bride. She has, as she says, I have such a crush on Max.
Yeah.
And just watching him, I know no, I'm gonna get this wrong. I know he had to have heart surgery, and his cardiologist like, yeah, if you had not been doing all this cardio, you would have been in so much worse shape,
Yeah.
because they're doing it. That is fascinating.
So I did do a quick Google search behind the
Yeah,
Zoom window here. Yeah, he is known for playing traditional grip, and there was something just in the quick Google results where
yeah,
he hurt his wrist at some point playing matched grip
okay,
and went to the traditional grip because it's more of a side, it's
yeah,
more of a rotation of the
uh-huh,
wrist as opposed to more a forward. And it's not even so much the wrist,
yeah,
but like you can see there, I'm hardly moving my wrist. You can do a lot basically
yeah,
with just your fingers.
yeah.
And so there's different ways you try to conserve energy or not hurt yourself. But
Yeah, for those of you who are only listening to the
sorry.
audio
Yeah.
version, no, go over to my YouTube channel and watch at least this part of it because it's pretty fascinating. So I know this is probably isn't the reason, but I think it's good shtick. Is it because Spinal? No, I'll let you fill it. When did you just first discover Spinal Tap, and what about the movie and the band spoke to
Mhm.
you?
Old friend of mine going back to elementary school. He was a year ahead of me, so we weren't often in the same class. But like in high school, especially, we both played drums together in the marching band.
Yeah,
So there was our connection. My friend Don Kuhn, and he had this must have been 1990. So the film This Is Spinal Tap, the mockumentary if of about the band, that came out in 1984. So I think I saw my friend Don had it was probably a bootleg or VHS recorded off of HBO or something.
yeah,
That's how it was done back then. I'm old too. That he had a VHS tape and had already seen it. And it was like, you, because we had very similar sense of humor, like Monty Python, Saturday Night Live. Like we have a very similar sense of humor and used to joke around. And even now, just make each other laugh a lot. So I watched it with him and it was mind blowing. And it's one of these movies where it's a great movie to rewatch, and I've probably seen it probably 100 times. It's one of these movies
yes,
where I almost know every line, and it's just one of the and there's subtleties to be found. So that's why I think it's a great rewatch. The first time you're just blown away by the music and the characters and the storyline, but then there's layers to unpack, and so I think that's part of what resonated with me. And then there's the cult of Spinal Tap, where then you think it's cool to introduce other people to the movie in
yeah,
college and all. And then, so I think, yeah, the humor of it, there's a lot of really dry, deadpan humor in it.
yes,
It's improvised. The film famously improvised, and that set the pattern. Christopher Guest, who one of the lead actors and one of the members of the band Spinal Tap, Christopher Guest, went on to make a whole series of mockumentaries that include a
yes,
lot of the same actors. Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, which I think is probably my favorite of the whole range, A Mighty Wind, which is about folk
yeah,
musicians. Best in Show is like a parody of the Westminster Dog Show
yeah,
competitions. But as a musician, like the other thing that was impressive is that Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, who I think we knew from Laverne and Shirley,
yeah,
and played Lenny on Laverne and Shirley. He was on Saturday Night Live
yeah,
with Christopher Guest and with Harry Shearer. And
yes,
I think people probably know Harry Shearer. He does a lot of the voices on The Simpsons.
yes, absolutely.
And so the three of them just amazingly funny, but they actually all play their instruments and sing.
Mhm.
So, like the authenticity of the movie and the Spinal Tap, it's a fake documentary about a fake band that's really a real band
Yeah.
because they wrote the music, they're playing every note. There's other members of the band, but I think that they're immensely talented. I respect the music, not just the comedy, even though I was never really a full blown long hair heavy metal headbanger. It was not
Yeah.
really my style, but Spinal Tap really that it just connected with me on a lot of those different levels.
Yeah. I remember watching it on TV. I don't remember what, or I think it was my friend Bob Bland said, "Hey, we need to watch this. This is funny."
Yeah.
And I remember liking it, and it it's the subtle humor, ridiculous premise. Like if you go, it's a fake metal band and we're following them around. Okay, and then they play it straight, which brings to the humor to me. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, they're a little dim-witted, they're a little bit bumbling, they're sweet, they're well-intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they're also like this super macho
Hmm.
kind of heavy metal band. So Rob Reiner, to give credit to Rob Reiner,
Yeah.
he was the director of This Is Spinal Tap. In the movie, he plays the fictional director
Yes.
that's following the band around. So there are scenes where Rob Reiner as Marty DeBurgi, the producer of the rockumentary, as he's proud
Yeah.
to have dubbed it. He's interviewing the band. And again, the production of the movie was one where they had outlines for scenes,
Yeah.
but the dialogue and the moments are completely improvised. They would do multiple takes and then it's an editing challenge, maybe
Right.
like any documentary would be, but I got sidetracked there. But no, what now I'm feeling dim-witted. What was the question?
No, we were talking about how I said there
Oh, this,
there's a subtleness to it. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and there's a lot of humor where it's even just a look, just an
Yeah.
expression. So there's a
Yeah.
scene where, and this is Fran Drescher
Yes.
from The Nanny and her unmistakable voice. So there's a lot of people who became very famous later
Yeah.
who are in the film in bit roles. So there's a scene. One of my favorite moments in the whole movie is not something verbalized. So I realize audio podcast, I'll do my best, but there's a scene at a record release party for the band. Their new album coming out in the movie is called Smell the Glove. And there's controversy about the cover. And as Bobby Fleckman is telling the manager, Ian Faith, she's saying, Ian, I won't try to do the voice, but imagine Fran Drescher. She's Ian, the studio, they only have issue with the cover, and it's sexist. You put a greased naked woman on all fours with a dog collar around her neck and a man's arm outreached holding a black leather glove in her face, forcing her to smell it. And Ian's trying to argue that it's not that offensive. It's 1982 was when the movie is set. And then she's saying, look, if the last album had been a hit, I could do more about the and he's still pushing, and then she cuts him off and she's money talks and bullshit walks. And Tony Hendra, who passed away a couple years ago, Tony Hendra, who plays Ian Faith, just gives her kind of a squint glare.
Yes.
His reaction to money talks, bullshit walks, it's so underplayed. And they're almost cutting away from
Yes.
him as he does just that. Oh, like, I don't know, moments like that. Like, it's just a look, but I think that it's hilarious.
What I think is interesting, and I hope my audience will as well. As we're recording this, last night I was guest on a podcast called Drunk Cinema,
Mhm.
and my friend Charles, who co-hosts the Doctor Who podcast I'm on, and a mutual friend of ours, Zan's spouse, routinely just watch a movie while drinking adult beverages and do Mystery Science Theater
Ah,
mocking,
ah.
drunk cinema. And last night we watched Office Space.
One of my favorites as well. Yes.
And I'm seeing the connection, and I'd love to have your thoughts on this, is if you've ever, and I'm guessing one of the reasons you love that is you have worked in a tech environment, you've worked in a business
Mhm.
environment, and I swear any company I've worked at, the workers say, "Oh yeah, this is
Mhm.
our company. It was based on our company."
Yeah.
I've seen a couple quotes where people in different bands say, "Oh my goodness, this was our band."
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Oh gosh, yes. Oh God, Ozzy Osbourne, who just passed away the other day. Rest in
Yes.
peace, Ozzy. I saw a clip this morning that was in my YouTube recommended videos.
Yeah.
Was on the Late Night with Conan O'Brien, and Conan asked him, "Did you go see the movie? This is Spinal Tap?" And Ozzy was saying like, "Yeah, they did," and I was the only one not laughing because those things happened to me. I got lost backstage, and there's a lot of not just musicians who thought it hit so close to home. And a lot of those musicians claim, oh, you ripped off such and such story. But in reality, the thing that happened to that band in real life happened after the movie was filmed.
Yes, okay.
And a lot of the reaction to This Is Spinal Tap when it was first released in '84, people would say, why did you make a documentary about a band nobody's ever heard of? They didn't quite get the joke. Or
Yeah.
why'd you make a movie about a band who's so terrible, but they're so bad it's good? They are great musicians.
Yeah.
You could question their lyrics, and some of it's a little bit not offensive, but tasteless. There's some tasteless
Sure.
humor in there too. But that's part of the persona of trying to be a heavy metal band. But yeah,
Yeah.
I could see the through lines. Office Space, not improvised, probably.
Right.
There's probably some moment. I don't know how many moments in that were improvised, but yeah, those movies. I think there's a similar spirit of trying to mock at sometimes what might be mundane moments where you can find a lot of
Yeah.
humor.
So obviously you love the film. So what do you think about the music?
So the overlap between, so I think the music's great. I do just listen to it, and I saw so they had the movie, and I think they
Yeah.
did some touring. They played as a band on Saturday Night Live and other. You can find video of them performing on YouTube. In 1992, they released a follow-up album, had not a film sequel, but it was like
Yeah.
an album sequel to the movie. So you can get the soundtrack of the This Is Spinal Tap soundtrack, which Apple Music, at least at one point, realized if you searched "Smell the Glove,"
Yeah.
they know you mean the Spinal Tap soundtrack.
Okay.
But this album was called "Break Like the Wind," and an album of mostly new music. And they went on tour in the
Hmm.
spring and summer of 1992. So I saw them live twice.
No
Uh,
way.
Once with a college friend who was a huge Spinal Tap geek, like a theater, an indoor rock venue theater in Chicago downtown. And then I also saw them over the summer back near Detroit, where I was back home over the summer at the Pine Knob Music Theater, which is a big
Hmm.
outdoor amphitheater kind of setting. And yeah, it's just I would love to see the band play live again. Now, like someone like Willie Nelson is a hero of mine, and Willie's in his early
Sure.
90s. All the actors in the band members are now pushing 80. You
Yeah.
know? I wouldn't expect them to go on a tour. I don't know if they're going to do any TV performances to promote the film, or if they would play, if they were doing like one night at the Hollywood Bowl or something. I would be really tempted to go fly to LA
Yeah.
to go see them. But they put on a full blown show, and then at Pine Knob, like one of the things that's hilarious is a lot of people also not in on the joke who were maybe there to see Spinal Tap. The opening band was called the Folksmen, like three like khaki wearing guitar and bass, like folk music.
Yeah.
Later to be featured in the film A Mighty Wind,
Oh,
Christopher Guest
funny.
connection, that the Folksmen, it with a costume change and different wigs, were Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer. And a lot of people are like, why the hell is this dorky folk music act opening for Spinal Tap? And I'm like, they're the same guys playing a totally different style of music. And so yeah, it was a treat to also to see them performing as the Folksmen. And
Oh,
there's YouTube clips. I think they were probably on Conan performing as the Folksmen. So go search YouTube for that.
I will do that. I talk about going down a rabbit hole. I love that of not breaking character and just staying in that and letting the humor play out. The it is hilarious. And I always thought it was very cool that there's that little bitty spine that you see the Spinal Tap hat in Princess Bride. That
Yeah,
was Mark Knopfler. Okay, I'll score the movie, which is a beautiful score, by the way. But
yeah.
hey, I want this from you because he loved the movie so much.
Did Rob Reiner also direct The Princess Bride, or was there a
Yes.
connection? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so he did that. And yeah, the story is Mark Knopfler was like, okay, but I need you to put the hat the director wears somewhere in the movie. And if you look at Fred Savage's bedroom, it's
Yeah,
it's
I love
somewhere
it.
in there. Yeah, that is great.
But when you talk about them staying in character, like when they go on a talk show as the band and they are absolutely doing interviews in character,
Yeah.
and you can tell the three actors just have such a connection in history and they've done a lot of this. One of the best features of, let's say, the DVD release of this is Spinal Tap, when you have the commentary
Yeah.
tracks, there was, it's probably still available. I think one problem with streaming is that you don't get the commentary
Yes, exactly.
tracks, I
Or
don't
the
think,
extras.
or the extras. So
Yeah.
DVD or Blu-ray,
Yeah.
there's a new 4K ultra high def Criterion Collection Blu-ray release of the original movie coming out
Okay.
in conjunction with the sequel. Oh, I don't think we've talked about the sequel
No,
yet, so
I
maybe
figured that we
we.
get to next. Yes.
But so I'm
No, no,
we'll
please, you're
save
doing
that.
great.
But
No, that's a perfect
they
transition. But go ahead,
well,
talk about that, and then we'll go.
let me talk about the commentary tracks.
Please.
There is one commentary track of the three of them, and maybe also Rob Reiner as the actors, commenting on what it was like to make the movie. The even better commentary track is them in character as the band members commenting about it's again like the layers, it's almost better than the movie itself.
Yeah.
And there are also different versions out there. The film, and I saw it for the first time in a movie theater a couple of weeks ago. They did a limited theatrical release of that kind of remastered
Yeah.
version of the movie. So I'd only seen it on various TV screens of different sizes, different
Mhm.
formats.
Yeah.
But I derailed myself on my
That's okay.
tangent. Again, this is a Saturday morning. My coffee is
I
still
yes, I get
kicking
it.
in thing. Help me out, Jesse.
Yeah. Did
We're talking about,
yeah, how cool was it seeing it on the big screen
oh,
after all this times, right?
yeah, that was yeah. I mean, it's not Top Gun where you have to see it on a big screen,
Right.
but it makes it feel like a real, I don't know, real movie. And of course, the sound. You might
Yeah.
have a decent home theater, but yeah, the sound was really good in the real theater. I might jump back to the point I thought I was making, but oh, so commentary tracks and
Yeah.
yeah, I would encourage people to go seek that out. Oh, extended scenes.
Okay.
So that's where I saw it derailed. So the theatrical release, final cut of the movie is like a really tight 90 minutes,
Yeah.
a little shorter than 90 minutes, even 86 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
Think of a great SNL digital short from a couple years ago about short ass movies. Did you ever
Yeah.
see? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's a song, Pete Davidson, and singing, like looking for a movie on Netflix, and like, why are all these movies 3.5 hours long? Sometimes you just want a
A
short
short
ass
ass movie.
movie.
Oh, I love that.
And Netflix actually made a category of films. They don't call it short ass movies, but
Yeah.
90-minute movies.
Yeah.
So this is Spinal Tap is one of those. But because of the way they filmed it as a fake documentary, hours and hours of footage. So there are different either official releases, extended director cuts, or even like bootleg versions of a 2.5 hour long version with a lot of deleted scenes. And sometimes you think, oh, that was deleted for a reason. And then sometimes there's just additional gold where sometimes again, my friend Don and I will talk about something and we're like, wait, was that in the final cut or was that an extra
Yeah.
scene that we're remembering? Because we're pretty deep into the Spinal Tap lore, if you
That's
will.
I Yeah, I can imagine you've got all this in editing. I know kill your favorites. Writers will talk about like I had this joke and I loved it, but just for the sake of the story, the
Mhm.
plot on this sitcom, I had to get rid of that joke. Even though it killed, it just didn't serve the better story.
Yeah.
So I imagine that is the other thing. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So
Can I tangent into my
yeah,
t-shirt real quick? And I'm going to
please.
describe it
Yes.
for those who are just listening.
Yes.
I recently bought this on Amazon. So you can see
Okay.
Spinal Tap, and then this is like
Yeah.
one of the album covers, or it's like their 1980 tour. They were touring to promote an album called Shark Sandwich. So you can see this odd drawing of
Yes.
a egg salad sandwich and a pickle, and there's a couple of
Yeah.
shark fins swimming around. So there's a great scene in the movie where Rob Reiner as Marty DeBurgi is asking them about previous albums and the reviews, and you see the album covers. Like one of the albums was Intravenous de Milo, and it's like a statue of Venus de Milo with an IV coming out of it.
Yeah.
And the Gospel According to Spinal Tap, which is a pretentious collection of religious rock and roll music that begs the question, on what day did God create Spinal Tap, and couldn't he have also rested on that day too? And then he comes to for the album Shark Sandwich. The review was simply two words: shit sandwich.
Oh no. Yes.
And when you watch and think, because of things being improvised, watch the facial expressions on the band members. They did not know that line was coming.
Uh-huh.
And how they laugh and react to it. And they're supposed to be like indignant about who said that? You can't print that. Where you
Yeah.
but they also laugh because it's just funny.
It is funny.
And you're not going to go back and redo that scene without that element of being surprised.
Yeah.
Because I guess the characters, the band members, didn't know there was a review that said shit sandwich,
Yeah.
probably. They're
Yeah.
living in their
So,
little bubble, but they almost broke character a little bit when they hear
because
the words shit sandwich.
because you could see the publicist not sharing that to them.
Mm,
So I was thinking about a few minutes ago, you mentioned them all playing their own instruments.
yeah.
And I know that just last year we had the Bob Dylan movie.
I
And
haven't seen it, but
yeah, Timothy Chalamet learned how to play the guitar
mm.
and did the guitar and sang all the parts. And they were talking about that. Penn Jillette, who is a huge
Oh, I
Dylan
love him.
fan, yeah, said that they had planned to have Timothy just mouth and do it, but he took the time and learned it, and they ended up using all of him doing the song, so it's good. By the way,
Shout out to Penn. I saw Penn and Teller in Vegas once, which was
yes,
amazing.
I meant to tell you this because and now this is totally or off the rails. He dated Debbie Harry for a while.
Oh, Penn Jillette did.
Yes.
Okay. Funny.
They were, yeah, that's funny thinking of them together.
Connecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he and Teller were working on the world's largest card trick. And they were learning how to drive forklifts so that they could shuffle these huge metal cards. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And so he comes home or wherever Debbie is, and he is covered in dirt and sweat. And supposedly, according to him, and Penn is known to lie, not deliberately, just because of memory, she goes, I didn't become a rock star to fuck a guy who's working on a forklift all day.
That's a Spinal Tap-ish kind of line.
Yeah, isn't it? And I can see that happening. It is
Yeah,
a great sign. So what have you heard about the movie? What and how excited are you? Are you
the sequel.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
sequel. Are you a little nervous because
Yes.
do you F with perfection, right?
Yeah, my buddy Don and I have talked and chatted about this a lot. And
Yeah.
the new movie released September 12th is when it's coming out.
Yeah.
So Don is still up in Michigan. I'm here mostly in Cincinnati. I think I'm going to go up there and I want to watch it the first time with Don.
Oh yeah.
And
If there's any way
we
possible to do
we
that, that's
we
like
have to.
mandatory. Yeah.
We have to. And maybe even back-to-back showings or something. Or
Yeah,
we're going to have to
exactly.
see it, go eat, and then maybe come back and see the 4 o'clock and come back and see the 7 o'clock or something, because
Yeah.
there were probably going to be layers of it.
Yes.
So when this was first announced a year and a half ago, mixed feelings. I think from what I've read online on Reddit or other places,
Yeah.
there are others who share the mixed feelings of
Yeah.
a lot of sequels are usually not as good.
Right.
But that said, Rob Reiner, Christopher Guest, Harry Shearer, Michael McKean have such a track record
Yes.
that I think they realize the legacy. This is Spinal Tap is in the what's the Smithsonian film
Yeah.
significant film
Yeah.
collection of for decades. They had a big financial dispute with Vivendi, the company that owned the movie and the rights
Yeah.
to everything. And there was a lawsuit where they said they were getting just screwed. They would get a royalties check for $2.18.
Yeah.
And the Vivendi was claiming the film wasn't making money. And I think part of it was out of principle because they've all done incredibly well in their
Yeah.
careers and different things. They're not destitute and hurting for money, but I think
Right.
there was some principle just to try to protect other artists. One of the old timey Spinal Tap songs from like their 1960s era when they were more like the Beatles and the
Yeah.
evolution of the band. One of their songs is called "Give Me Some Money."
Yeah.
So I don't think it was just about "Give Me Some Money," but they got the rights to their characters and everything. So I think that could have been part of the dynamic of like, why make a sequel if we're going to get screwed
Yeah.
financially? And now I don't think they're doing it as a money grab, as just a
Yeah.
blatant way to cash in. So I think they're protective of the characters and the legacy. And I've heard Rob Reiner say, and we're trying to avoid too many spoilers about the
Yeah.
new movie, that they came up with a scenario and everything that kind of finally makes sense. And like the first trailer released the other day, and that's on
Hmm.
YouTube. So the gist of the sequel is the band is broken up and gotten back together and broken up, and they're getting back together for one final reunion concert,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the storyline. And so I think there's a sense of you see and hear, you're catching up on what the characters were doing outside of Spinal Tap and trying to get back together and do a big show. And they're old. And there's, not to sound ageist, but we see aging rockers on stage, whether again, Ozzy, rest in peace, The Who and the Stones. And there's the mixed feelings about it's great to see them perform, but sometimes they're a shell of I've stopped going to see Willie Nelson because
Yeah.
about 85 and I love that guy and everything
Yeah.
he stands for. But at some point, like your skills get so diminished and you're like, I want to remember 80-year-old Willie was still really vibrant on stage. And I don't know if I want to go see 92-year-old Willie and I'm going to bawl my eyes out when he
Yeah.
passes away someday. But yeah, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like the kind of
I
mixed
do. In
feelings
fact,
about that.
couple
Bruce, what about
things.
Bruce?
Yeah, luckily Bruce just finished a 3-year tour. He's 75. He'll be 76 in
He
September.
seems like an incredibly healthy and robust
He is a
75.
very, you can Google, talk about going through YouTube. You can Google, in fact, I do not know your politics, so we'll put that aside, but his this last section of the tour, he's called it the Land of Hope and Dreams tour,
Hmm.
and he has specific speeches he did every night about what's going on in this country administration wise.
And not to mention, even going back to 1984,
Yeah,
people, especially say even back to Reagan era and
yeah,
current era, they misunderstood what the hell the song Born in the USA was
yes,
about.
they do. I think about that in fact, when President Trump was in the hospital for COVID, they were playing Born in the USA, and all of us Bruce fans were like, I don't think they know what that song means.
No.
Anyway,
Similar problem with Fortunate Son by CCR.
yes, yes.
That song's
So,
even more
yeah,
obviously what
so
it is.
I recommend you Googling that. And it's about, he does about 5 songs, including a cover of Chimes of Freedom. They took parts from the song, and so they have his discussion, and you see him performing. He doesn't run around as much, he doesn't jump on the piano anymore and jump
Sure.
off. And they take 3 or 4 days between concerts now
Yeah. Yeah.
to tour, but he looks great.
How's his
Uh,
voice hold
his
up?
voice sounds really good.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
so I'd love for you to watch that, and then email me your thoughts. On the other hand, 2 years ago, I love Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys.
Oh,
That
he
was my
also
first,
passed.
yeah, my
Yes.
first musical obsession out of high school. I'd gone through, I loved Kiss and Barry Manilow and all that because I had graduated high school in 77,
Okay.
that whole area. I went and saw Brian Wilson was opening for Chicago,
Mm.
and I had never seen Chicago. So we went, and I had seen Brian multiple times, and he came out on a walker, sat down at the piano. I don't know if he if we could hear his voice or not. And it was very sad, Mark. I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I won't go see him again. I
But
don't
I think,
need to see that.
did you see the final Ozzy or clips from the
No,
final?
I didn't.
So they did a final concert with Black Sabbath. It was just a couple of weeks
I know.
before
Yes.
he passed, and he was sitting on a throne, and that was emotional because that was a celebration
Yeah.
of what he was and a showing appreciation
Yeah.
for like that I think was like a beautiful
Yeah.
moment. But then there's controversy and criticism. Frankie Valli,
Yes. I've heard
he's
this,
like
right?
90 and he looks like a Disney animatronic
Yes.
figure. And there's some people wondering, are you okay? Is your
Yeah.
family? Because there are other musicians who have gotten old and are trotted out there just
Yes.
to give me some money
Yeah.
when it maybe doesn't reflect well on them as an artist anymore.
Yeah. So I talked to David Leaf, who has written a couple of biographies of Brian, did a documentary, The Making of Smile, just truly had become one of Brian's closest friends. And I was telling him he was great. He did one episode where we just talked about him as a Bruce Springsteen fan, and then the next episode was him talking about Brian and everything.
Yeah.
And I told him that story, and he said Brian tours for 3 reasons. Oh, okay. First, he says he loves hearing the band behind him perform his music. They were a
Mhm.
LA band called the Wondermints. They are a fantastically talented band that do all these complex songs from Pet Sounds and Smiles and the Beach Boys. They're absolutely amazing. Secondly, Brian loves feeling the affection from the audience because
Mhm.
for so many years to see how much his music means to people and loves people just thrills him. Third, he loves room service. And I said, you know what? Those are 3 darn good reasons to tour. Good for you,
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So, yes, in fact, I remember going back, I think it was toward the end of Muhammad Ali's career. And I remember a sportscaster saying, you have to understand that these last fights Muhammad's doing are purely for money to take care of his family.
Sure.
You should not judge them as
Mhm.
their as his career. This is.
Yeah.
And I thought interesting about that. And going back to Spinal Tap, I don't see these guys doing that. I
Yeah.
think it is, you'll often hear, when are you going to do a sequel? When are you going to do a sequel? And the writer will go, if I can come up with an idea. I don't know how big of a comic book fan you are, but Damon Lindelof did a HBO miniseries based on the comic Watchmen. And it is
Okay.
absolutely
I'm not a
brilliant.
bit
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not a comic book guy,
yeah.
but yeah. Yeah.
It's a brilliant sequel to one of the best known comic books of all time.
Mhm.
And just won Emmys and exciting. And like, when are you going to do season two? And he goes, I don't have a story for season two.
Yeah.
And I'm not just going to do another one because the first one was successful. And I feel like these guys are the same way. Could be partly because the rights, and
Yeah.
two, what story do I want to tell? Now, I think, and I will end up going to see this sequel as well, the idea that now the broke up, get together, broke up, get together, broke up, get together. It's like the Eagles documentary did a
Mhm.
second one when they got back together.
Yeah.
So I could see how this is the let's get the gang back together and do this is a I don't know if it's going to be like the last waltz, but
Well,
that's what it could feel like.
that movie has come up in the discussion, I think, even from Rob Reiner. And I should probably watch The Last Waltz. It's what, in the 70s, and it's
Yeah.
about the band
Yeah.
called The Band, right?
Yes.
Farewell concert.
Yeah. And it's good. I understand that they had to do some editing because one of the one of the guest singers that's on there. By the way, Neil Diamond does a song. Has this big rock of cocaine on him that they had to digitally get rid of.
Oh,
Yeah, but it is a brilliant documentary and the feeling about that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be great.
quick tangents. Knowing the original movie so well,
Yeah.
there in I think it was in the trailer.
Yeah.
They show it's an odd trailer. They show some scenes from the original.
Yeah.
Because the in the trailer, it's hi, I'm Marty DeBurgi, and
Yeah.
I'm doing I did this one, and now I'm doing another one. And back to the scene about the reviews,
Yeah.
including Shark Sandwich, Shit Sandwich. One of the reviews was the band is swimming in retarded sea of, oh my gosh, let me look up the exact line,
Sure.
because
Sure.
they treading water in a sea of retarded sexuality and bad poetry. So retarded has become a
Yes.
controversial word, but it's
Right.
not meant in that
Right.
insulting
Yes.
use of that word. It's being used in a technically correct way, but maybe because of sensitivities,
Yeah.
they've dubbed over a sea of tasteless
Ah,
sexuality
interesting.
and bad poetry. So, like, I'm not
And I'm
one,
sure most people would not catch that. But I guess the hardcore fans probably did.
right. And would hearing that word, I'm not going to ask you to edit it out, because I think
Yeah.
I'm using the word in a
No, I'm not going to. But no, I get
non
you.
non-hateful, non-offensive. I think
Yes.
people get it. But that did strike me. Where are they worried that somebody would hear that word and get upset just from hearing the word? I mean, in a way, that would spark some controversy, would be some promotion
Yeah.
for the film.
Yeah.
But they made that, and Rob Reiner is saying it off screen. So
Yeah.
it probably made it easier for them to dub, because you don't have to worry about seeing the
Yeah.
lips.
And I also wonder if if it's going to hurt someone, this is not someone we want to do. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for that. And like,
Yeah,
you said
me
we're
too.
not going to get into politics. I'm not one to scream about,
Yeah.
avoiding hurtful language. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to use language that was even inadvertently hurtful
Yeah.
or harmful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But somebody's
Any
going to scream, Spinal Tap's gone woke.
yes, of
I'm like,
course,
okay.
as they have done for the new Superman movie, which is, by the
Yeah.
way, the movie's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. What should I've asked you, Mark, that I haven't before I ask you to wrap it up and we give you the Mary question?
Boy, when I'm a podcast guest, that question usually trips me up. Like I had some notes here, and I think I've babbled through and
Well, what?
tangentially brought up a lot of the things I was hope. Oh, here, you should have asked me, do you have any? Okay, here we go. A fun question would have been like, so do you have, you're a Spinal Tap super fan. Do you have any merchandise?
Okay.
So I do, these were released earlier this year. I'm going to describe them. Spinal Tap action figures.
Oh my
The
goodness.
focus on my camera is not
Yeah,
cooperating,
that's
but
okay.
there's a Nigel Tufnell wearing his famous green skeleton shirt. This shirt shows my exact inner structure.
Yes.
Rob Reiner questioned him like, is your skeleton really green? And Nigel Tufnell's trying to say, oh, actually, it is. He's just uninformed. And
Yes.
then here is a Derek Smalls action figure
Yes.
with his. And then here is the David St. Hubbins, Michael McKean figure. They're going to remain in their packaging. I'm not
Yeah.
a action figure collector, but I'm going to leave them
Oh, that's
in their
awesome.
packages. Partly as an homage to there's a great scene in the movie where Nigel Tufnell is wearing that shirt and he's
Yeah.
showing Marty DeBurgi his collection of guitars. And there's this one, he's like, look, it's still got the old tagger on it. It's never been played. And Rob Reiner is starting to point at it, and he's like, "Can't be played." And Rob Reiner kind of points at it. He's like, "Don't even point at it." And then Rob Reiner or Marty DeVerge tries to say something, and Nigel Tufnell's like, "Don't even look at it. You've seen enough." And so I feel protective about my
I
Spinal
love
Tap
that.
action
How
figure.
come Marty didn't get a action figure?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we're looking to do series two.
Yeah.
We've been mentioning a lot of people who passed away
Yeah.
recently. The actor who played the keyboard player in the original film, Viv
Yeah.
Savage, was the character. I'm having a total brain cramp on the actor's name. He just passed away a couple of weeks ago. David Caffinetti.
Oh,
Now, he
right.
was not part of the reunion. He was not part of the sequel.
Mm.
David Caffinetti, I think was his full name. Yeah, one of the themes of the movie, there's a scene in the preview and in the trailer where the band is sitting around the table with some young producer or promoter, and he says something like, you know what would be great for your legacy would be if no more than two of you died during the reunion concert. And the band's confused, and one of them, Nigel's, but I don't want to die. And then one of them asks, I think it was maybe Derek Small's characters, what about a coma?
Yeah, can I be in a coma? Oh, that is greatness.
So
I
there are
am
some
so
themes, I'm sure, around aging and your heroes aging, as we've talked about here today. So there might be some poignant moments, but it's a comedy.
we're recording this on a Saturday morning, and I now know what I'm going to do this afternoon. It has been too long since I've seen Spinal Tap,
Yeah.
and I now need to go down that road again.
Shoot me an email with some of your notes or what
I
stands out to
will.
you differently in a rewatch, maybe.
Yeah, I will. That's greatness. Mark, this has been so much fun. And we didn't even get to your podcast or any
Well,
place. Yeah,
here's an idea, and maybe this is how we can continue the discussions. One of the podcasts I host is called My Favorite Mistake. I have a
yeah,
wide range of people from business and the arts and retired athletes, and they all answer the same core question: what's your favorite mistake? I'm not asking what's your biggest
yeah,
mistake, but a favorite mistake is something it was maybe unfortunate at the time, but it either served as a learning opportunity or opened an unexpected door. So it's meant to celebrate the positives of recognizing we all make mistakes.
yeah.
Let's not be too unfair to ourselves or to others. Let's learn from those mistakes. That's the spirit of the show. So if you think about this, Jesse, and you have a favorite mistake story you might want to tell, we can delve into that. And then the second half of the episode is always tell me more about you and your work, and we can talk about your podcast, and maybe we can talk a little more about This is Spinal Tap.
I'd love that because I already know my answer.
Okay.
And so, yes, I will save that, but we'll absolutely do
Teaser,
this. Yes, I would
teaser for
love to
your
be on your podcast, and I
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, because this has been great fun talking with you, and
I
I would
thank you.
enjoy
I hope so.
turning the tables and being the host and letting you
Yeah.
be my guest.
Yeah, and if what I would love too is if you watch the Bruce, the thing scenes from his documentary from his latest tour.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to come in and talk about it, and let's talk about some of the books and stuff. So we'll have you back on this one, and then I'd love to
Okay.
be a guest on yours, and we'll do a trilogy.
All right, that'd be great. Because the one question you ask others, and again, I love Bruce
Yeah.
and his music and what he stands for. I have never seen him live.
Oh,
That's a regret.
yeah. Yeah. I'd really love to hear what your thoughts on the like I said, and it's only 5 songs. It gives you a nice little arc, and so you can see him and the band playing, so it's
Okay.
good.
If you can
Uh,
send me a link to that,
I will
I
do it.
would appreciate that.
Yes. But I end every podcast with the
No.
Mary question. Jay Armstrong was a honors English teacher in the Philadelphia area. He taught high school English, and for his honors English class, he would go in and he would give them the lyrics to Thunder Road, and they would read it as if a poem,
Hmm.
discussing the
Hmm.
imagery and the themes Bruce explores in that. And then he would ask his students at the end of the class, does Mary get in the Mark? That was your homework. Not
Yeah.
every podcast gives you a homework, but this one
Right. I
does.
did my homework.
Can
I took
you give me your thoughts on Mary? Does Mary get in the car?
I took a fresh listen to the song last night while reading the lyrics. I don't know if the assignment was just the reading, but I'm going to answer the question based off of listening to the song. Is that
And
okay?
that is exactly the right answer. Yes, the right
For
way to
this.
do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think very strongly, yes, she did. Because to me, it's just the tonality of the song to me sounds positive and celebratory.
Yes.
And especially the end, the outro of the song, to me is a celebratory, she got in the car and they are driving off together tone. Now, maybe I'm not looking at it with the right layers, but
No.
that's my reaction to the song.
I love that. And so now I have another lesson for you. One of my guests, and I get about 50-50. About half people say yes, she does.
Really?
Other
Okay.
half say no, she doesn't.
Yeah.
And I have many favorite answers. The funniest ever answer was a guy who wrote for David Letterman.
Uh-huh.
And he said, before I said, hey, did you listen to Thunder Road? And he goes, is that the song where the screen door slams? I go, yeah, that's it. Okay, got my answer. So when we got to the answer, he goes, yes, she gets in the car. She says, drive me to the hardware store. She gets a new spring for the screen door and she fixes it. I was like,
That's
okay, that's the best answer I've heard.
that's creative. Yeah,
Yeah.
I took a very straightforward look at
Yes, I
that.
did too.
So, yeah.
So a Bruce fan said, it depends. And
Yeah.
this is why I'm telling you the story, as you'll recognize. He said, if it's the E Street Band doing the song, she absolutely gets in the car because the
Hmm.
ending of the song is so triumphant and going. If it's Bruce doing it solo,
Mm,
she doesn't get in the car because if you hear him do the end, he veers off and does a very slow ending.
okay.
And so if you listen to do acoustical Thunder Road, I'd love for you to go, I think you will go, yeah, I
Okay.
see that. So that's great.
But that is the beautiful thing about art. And
Yes.
I don't like think times when I've been in a museum and you're looking at paintings and
Yeah.
how different people can interpret the same painting in different
Right.
ways. That's great.
Yeah. Mark, tell us how to find you. Where's the podcast? If they want to reach you, what's the best way?
Yeah, they can find My Favorite Mistake podcast, I'm sure, wherever they're listening or watching your show. You can go to myfavoritemistakepodcast.com. We'll also take you to the page on my website, markgraban.com, where the podcast is hosted. And you can see if people are interested in my book, The Mistakes That Make Us. It's available anywhere online. You would find a book, paperback, Kindle versions, other ebooks, and audiobook.
Okay.
And,
Super.
and that can be found mistakesbook.com.
Nice. All right, listeners, go check out the website, go check out the podcast, check out the book. Thank you, Mark. This was an absolutely lovely time.
Yeah,
I
I
hope you
agree.
had fun.
Thank you. Thanks, Jesse. I did.
Yeah. All right, listeners, thank you so much for listening. Remember to go subscribe, If you have feedback, let me know. setlustingbruce@gmail.com. And for now, be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.